everyone, and good morning. Welcome to our live feed update for August 11th. I'm your host, Taran Armstrong, and I am here today to update you on everything that happened yesterday on the Big Brother 25 live feeds. It was day 9 in the house, and the feeds were down for most of the day. We had a live eviction, but they did eventually come up late last night. We got a new HOH. We have some new targets to talk about. There was even some drama that happened. So there's still plenty to go through here today. And with me to do it is Pooya. How you doing, Pooya?
I'm doing good, Taran. I'm currently in an undisclosed location. I was supposed to infiltrate the house as the 18th house guest last night, but then stuff happened and now they're not letting me leave. So I'm stuck here with this janky equipment, but I did get to watch the feed, so I'll be able to update stuff here for sure.
Oh man, I can't believe they had this whole plan for an 18th house guest that they scrapped because Luke said the N-word. Oh, that's such a believable story.
Definitely checks out. Yeah, it's been an interesting 24 hours with the episode and with everything, and I don't really know where we're heading, but hopefully we can make some sense into what are they throwing at the wall here. This show, we'll see.
We will see, indeed. So let's talk it through. Of course, the last we saw in the house, Riley was the HOH, and Felicia and Kirsten were up on the block. Luke had been removed from the game, and then the feeds were cut. We did not know anything else. From what we can gather from some of the conversations from last night, there were some conversations about flipping the vote, some more conversations about flipping the vote from the family style side of things. But of course, we know that they never really had the votes to do so in the first place, nor did they ever really commit to doing it. So it was, again, always really going to be Kirsten there. We then got to the eviction. Kirsten was voted out as planned. Now, the last time this happened, last season, when Paloma left the game and the feeds were down until the eviction, there was like this whole new alliance that formed. They replaced Paloma with who was it, Nicole, and there was all kinds of nonsense going on, and we had to really like catch up. This time around, it feels like it's mostly the same. No major updates seem to have occurred between Luke being removed and now. The house is still split. Cameron is still trying and failing to play the middle. Corey is still trying and succeeding in playing the middle. Jared is still trying and succeeding to play the middle. And both sides know that each side exists, and it's all kind of just the same.
Oh, it's same old, even all the way down to my guy, Jag, really lacking in the information department. Still a couple days behind. The gap in the feeds did not mean that we're going to get anything extra from him there either. So it's unfortunate to see.
Yeah. So with all of that said, they then played an HOH competition. And the winner of the HOH competition is none other than Hisam. Hisam won the HOH. He is the new head of household. Now, kind of on a streak here, little bit of a streak going on. He was second in the initial nomination competition to Matt in the literal rowing competition. He then was second in the HOH competition to Riley when he wasn't even really trying that hard to win. And then he won the veto competition and has now won the following HOH competition. Reminding me a little bit of an early Michael run when it was like he came in second through, one. When you perform consistently this well, it means that you're probably going to be doing well in competitions for a while. So worth noting, but Hisam is the HOH. Another important thing, though, is that Jared came in second place in the HOH competition. And because of that, was sent off to the Scaryverse or the Nether regions or whatever they're calling it. He was sent off into an alternate universe and was not there last night and will not come back until sometime today, we assume.
Yeah. So it turns out getting second place equals punishment. You are swept away and you cannot talk to anybody
Or
for that
benefit. We don't know
time.
yet.
We don't know. Yeah, I have seen some murmur, some speculation on what he could be doing. I'm not going to subscribe to any of it until we see what happens, because who really knows? I've also seen people say that, Heisem now put a target on his back that may have not been there. It's bigger than ever. Nah, he was always going to be a target
Oh,
for the other side.
yeah.
Him winning makes the most sense here. He's got to do what he's got to do, and he ingratiates himself with his group already. So that's good.
I mean, I will say this. If Heisem is able to let Jared win that HOH competition, massive for Heisem, because Jared then has to blow up his own spot, and it
Right.
really puts Heisem way further down on the target list. And the same thing probably ends up happening for the most part. But Heisem wins, and who knows how able he would have been to actually throw. It sounds like it was kind of a weird and maybe somewhat unique competition. So we'll have to wait and see exactly how it worked. But yes, Heisem now has the HOH. Jared, they were told that there was some kind of game-changing thing is going to happen with Jared being gone. Supposedly, it might happen when he comes. I mean, given that he's probably coming back sometime today, I would imagine that coincides with the nominations, and that maybe it, you know, interrupts the nominations, changes them somehow. Maybe he's a third nomination. Maybe he makes a nomination. Maybe it's something even more dumb. I don't know. It's pointless to speculate. We'll find out soon enough. Um, but that's basically where we are from that. When we get back to the feeds, Jag and America are going to be talking a little bit, lamenting their loss. Heisem, they said, was basically unstoppable in that. There's no way they would have been able to beat him. They think Corey is in trouble, which is a reasonable thought considering Heisem's behavior toward him. And Jag is concerned that the Nether region situation might mean that Jared can't compete in the veto or maybe vote this week, which would really mess them up, because even if they were able to somehow get like Corey and somebody not in their group on the block, they wouldn't even have the votes to take out that other person instead of Corey. But he doesn't have to worry about that because that's not happening.
It's so disheartening because as I was watching this, all I could think was, this is a season that has been so messy, so sloppy. All the information's been out there. It's not like everyone's kept things under wraps. It's all there in front of you. The level of delusion I've seen my guy Jag put out there last night really bothered me, because I've been championing. I still think he's got like the kit, but at the same time, that information is just not there. He was talking about, ooh, maybe we can convince him to put up Felicia. What? Felicia? Where? This season? Right now? Come on, man. Pull it together.
Yeah, it's funny because they all week were like, "Ah, man, we wish Felicia wasn't on the block so we could vote to keep Kirsten." And then they're like, "Maybe they will make the same mistake we did." Granted, it wasn't, it was a kind of a forced mistake because Felicia was one of her only options. But still, Blue ends up joining the conversation. They talk about the idea that, like, yeah, we could maybe get Heisem to nominate somebody other than their group with Corey, like Felicia as a pawn with Corey, to not get blood on his hands. And if we're like, hey, we're fine with Corey leaving, and you don't want to nominate anybody else from like the big group because then you're putting blood on your hands, why don't you just nominate an easy pawn like Felicia? And then they would secretly flip the votes on Felicia. But they don't think that's super likely. But they end up talking themselves into the idea a little bit. Blue feels confident that she and Jag won't go up, though. Jag has bonded with Heisem over their identity, he says. And of course, Blue has had this, as she calls this queer alliance-ish thing with Heisem and Izzy. I think Blue in particular is really overestimating that connection. They don't really like her very much. And I don't know exactly what Heisem's thoughts would be about putting her or Jag up at this point. But given how he's thinking, that we'll find out later, they might be onto something. But I think probably a bit overconfident in that something.
Yeah, I feel like the thought there is that, yeah, we are safe, and the reality is, no, you're probably like 5th on the list, which is still on the list, which is not great, but you're not in the top 3 on the list, which is probably where you want to be or where you don't want to be. So it's like, when you're half right, does it count? I don't know. I don't really know.
Yeah. Suri is going to talk to Izzy very briefly, saying Jag is panicking, but she's really happy that Heisem won, and she hopes that he backdoors Cameron. Now, this is something that I talked about maybe yesterday, maybe the day before, maybe both days. A lot of people in Suri's group, the professors, have all talked about wanting to target Riley, including Jared himself has also talked about wanting to target Riley. They all want to target Riley first, Riley first, Riley first. But if you pay attention to what Suri says, it's kind of clear that she had been kind of thinking, Cameron, though. I think Cameron is a bigger threat than Riley. And now that the option is in front of them, she's starting to be a little more direct, at least with Izzy, about the fact that she would prefer for Cameron to leave this week if she has the option. And so there's a taste of it here, but we're going to continue to get some of it over the course of the night.
Yeah, and I think that's going to be the interesting bit of the week for me, is going to be this back and forth of potentially Riley, potentially Cameron. And I just, I've seen enough and feel enough to know that when Suri wants something, she'll put it there. So I'm right now, if I was putting a chip down on one of their names, Taran, I'm putting it down on Cameron's name.
Yeah. So Heisem, Mimi, and Felicia are going to celebrate for a little bit in the storage room. They talk about how they were so upset when you won, Heisem. Oh my God. And this is such a classic Big Brother thing. It's like, especially in the early weeks, it's like the thing that you use to solidify your group is you talk about how unhappy other people were that you won. So, I guess piece of advice, be very conscious of how you react when people win HOH. And even if you are, people will still probably try to pretend like you were upset. So if anything, just be very conscious about it. And also use it. It's pretty effective. It works pretty well. Heisem says he wants to make the decision as a group, and he wants to do some instigating amongst the other side. He wants to get some information, and he wants to really get in there and mix things up. And so Mimi in particular starts pushing, and I think Mimi is probably the other person that is on the same page with Suri, mostly about wanting Cameron targeted. Izzy doesn't like Cameron, but I don't think she has a feeling either way about who to target at this point, although I'm sure she will as she talks to Suri more and more. But I think Mimi is more organically on the same page as Suri and probably wanting Cameron out first. And she makes sure to point out, Cameron in particular was so pissed about that competition and how you won. And so they talk a little more about who they would want to pull over from the other side if they could. Mimi says, I don't trust America. We know that Mimi has tried to form a connection with America. And I think at this point, she really feels like it's just not reciprocated, which is worth noting because Suri also tried to form a connection with America and then also ended up feeling like she couldn't trust America because it wasn't reciprocated. America, despite being a big fan of the show and fairly active in strategic conversations within her own group, has really dropped the ball in forming relationships and connections with anybody other than her group. And even within her group, she hasn't been active enough to become into the core of the group. Big time fail here for America for the most part.
Huge fumble, especially when Heisem would like some infighting and them to turn on each other. Once we learn what the plans are for what they're going to try and get to be on the block. That doesn't look good for that. Looks like it works out for Heisman, but also it proves that, yeah, America has had really no inroads there and has kind of closed herself off to these other opportunities, which is very surprising to me because it did feel like, she started slow and it's picking up some steam, but not enough steam to get any warmth anywhere, which is not where you want to be right now.
Yeah. Before they talk about how before Kirsten left, she told them that all of them were that first of all, the other side were promising their votes, and that they were all saying Heisem's name. And so, I mean, not that that was anything that wasn't already known, but worth knowing. They might use Kirsten as an excuse for why Heisem makes his nominations, which is, again, a very classic Big Brother move. The person who just left and can't defend themselves now becomes your perfect source of information or whatever scapegoat you need to make your next move. After Mimi leaves the storage room, Felicia says, "My instinct is to bring over Matt and Jag. Those are the people that we could maybe bring over to our side if we get them to break up a little bit." The feeds cut and come back, so we don't get his immediate response. But when they do come back, Heisem says, "My number one target is Riley. Cameron isn't far behind." So Riley and Cameron, number one and number two, close together in terms of his top two targets. And then his third would be Matt. Matt would be his third most likely target. Now, this is a little surprising because just a few days ago, he had a conversation with Matt that he felt really good about. And he talked about how he felt like Matt was a good person to pull in. However, I think my assumption here is that knowing that there's a 5 that they know now, and it includes Matt, Jag, Blue, Riley, and Cameron. Obviously, Riley and Cameron are the top two targets because it's Riley and Cameron. I think Matt is a default third option because of that connection to Jag and Blue that we've talked about, identity, and those conversations that they've had. I think he would prefer to not have to nominate them, given that there's 5 options. And I think the third option target is basically pointless anyway, because if you nominate Riley and Cameron, maybe it's a replacement nom, but it's still not necessarily your target. So it doesn't really matter anyway. So that's what he's thinking. Those 3 are the people he is looking at the most. And if that stays the same, then we would probably be looking at something like Riley and Cameron nominations, maybe like Riley and Matt to keep Cameron off the block and do a backdoor situation, or who knows, because Cameron thinks he's playing both sides. You might want to keep him comfortable briefly. But those kinds of conversations are not going to happen tonight, day 9, night 9. Just this is the most information we're going to get about what Heisem might do moving forward.
Yeah, he not only did he got his room, but we can't really say he got his room. He got his like basket in the pantry, and then he had to move it up to the room himself.
Yeah, I don't understand why that happened.
I don't know. Like, why'd you give him the key if you were gonna put it in the pantry? Just put it in the room. I don't understand. Then the room reveal is not really a room reveal because then none of the snacks were there. The fridge wasn't stocked. So he basically was like, I'm going to bed. So I think today we're gonna get a lot more information there. Also, I wonder if people have clocked that, yeah, we didn't mention Corey's name on the short list at all. Corey and Heisem have had this big beef for whatever reason, this disagreement for the whole season. Didn't come up at all. And I love to see it. I love to see it because I feel like that wouldn't have been good for his game anyway. So
yes.
Yeah.
Sorry, I forgot to bring up the graphic for those of you that enjoy the graphic. So that's happening there. They Suri and Bowie end up joining Felicia and Heisem in the pantry, and they celebrate. Celebration. Heisem talks again about wanting to find out information. Now, Suri, of course, has a great idea. She says, listen, make sure to point out that Riley is the one that told us that Jag and Blue were the ones pushing your name, Heisem. Basically, what Suri wants him to do is to go to Jag and Blue and say, listen, Riley told me that you two were the ones pushing my name. and then so that Jag and Blue might go back to Riley and be like, yo, what the hell?
Yeah.
What's going on? And then they can be pointing fingers at each other and help dismantle this group. And I think again, in part, this is to be like to break them up. And if they're broken up, then the target for Riley is a little lower, right? Because individually, she's not that threatening. They also talk about how it's good Jared didn't win because it means he doesn't have to blow his cover. So there's going to be a lot of those comments throughout the night. So interesting stuff.
Yeah, definitely interesting. This is the big thing, right? So as far as the HOH comp went, first of all, the other side of the house really did poorly. So much so that I'm pretty sure Felicia beat all of them. So
yeah,
get ready.
Heisem said that I think Corey was the last person from the quote unquote other side in the competition. And that after Corey was out, he felt super comfortable. And I think that was, he said, with like 6 people left, maybe. I'm not sure. So yeah, they didn't do particularly well.
Yeah, they didn't do well at all. I'm very happy though, because I will say I do think if Jared had won, it would have been a more messy week here, which could have actually been fun to watch. How Jared was gonna play both sides and who he was gonna put up, and how is Suri gonna navigate all that with him. But I like that for now we've got this Heisem storyline in play. I feel like the Heisem storyline can add some, maybe get the one side bonded together, the other side implode potentially. I'm here for it. And I mean, I would like to see Cameron leave, so I'm not mad at this outcome.
Well, Cameron is going to talk with Jag. He says he was hoping for Jared, even though the thing was kind of shaky, which I don't really understand what that means. He says he feels okay with Heisem. Cameron feels like he'll be fine. So he's going to give advice to everyone else in the alliance that, hey, we need to not be hanging out together, and so on and so forth. Just doing his Cameron thing. Cerie's going to talk with Bowie. Bowie thinks that Heisem needs to make a big move. She hopes he does. Cerie says, yeah, Heisem can start getting them to point fingers at each other. And she starts planting seeds that she thinks that Cameron threw the comp because he thinks he's playing both sides. Heisem is then going to get his HOH room. And yes, he reads like the letter in the pantry for whatever reason, but then they go up to the HOH room. Now, a couple of important things, interesting things in the HOH room. They head up, and immediately a bunch of people sit on Heisem's bed, including Cameron and Red. And I tried. I did not see the interaction occur in real time, but there's going to be plenty of retells about it. That I think something happened, like Izzy said, like something about like, hey, you shouldn't sit on his bed or something. And then Red was like, what do you mean? Why can't I sit here? Or something along those lines. We'll get to it in a little bit. In addition to that, they're in there for, I don't know, like 10 minutes tops before Heisem kind of kicks everyone out. And he gives like, and here's why I'm a little excited for a Heisem HOH, because Heisem is already the guy that was down in the comic room kind of like preaching gospel to his flock, right? Like he was already the guy that was like giving the rallying speech to the troops. And now he is HOH. And it feels like he already thinks he's in charge of the house. And he was like, just like the way that he immediately takes control of the situation. He's like, so listen, I'm going to go to bed now. So you guys need to leave. Everyone should go to bed tonight. Tomorrow you can all come in and use the bathroom if you want. And you know, we've all had such a hard week this week. And like he's a manager in an office. You know what I mean? Like it's very manager sounding, to the point that after they get downstairs, Bowie is like, man, he really took charge and sent everyone to bed. Like he's so confident in himself.
Yeah, and then he took to that robe real quick. Like he immediately like, oh yeah, blue's the color. Yep, put it on. It's like, nope, this is great. So I definitely am gonna get that energy. I think this entire reign, so it'll be fun to watch.
So, right after Bowie says that, after they've gone downstairs, Izzy is a little sniffly, and Ceri's like, what's going on? And she's like, people just feel so comfortable. And before you can sort of understand what she means by that, Red comes in, and she leaves. No, can't do that. And after she leaves, she's not on the cameras anymore, but you can still hear her mic, and she's saying, think about someone else for a single second. Just think about someone else, okay? And it's like, oh, uh-oh.
It's a lot.
What's going on? She heads to the bathroom, and she talks to Mimi and Hisam, and she says, God forbid I say anything about Red in the bed. And it's like, oh, well, that's where I always sit. Okay. Well, so now I'm the bad guy. And she starts crying. It's like, so I just had to remove myself from the situation. And Hisam immediately swoops in with like the psychiatrist voice. He hugs her, and he's like, it's okay. All right. It's gonna be okay. There are things that are not worth fighting over in this house, and there are bigger fish to fry. And we're gonna get through this, and we're gonna make this work, and we're gonna play this game. We're not gonna ruin what we've got going on. We're gonna be very careful, and it's good that people feel comfortable in the HOH room. That's what we want. Okay, so we're gonna make this happen. Now, while he is doing this and giving her the hug, she is like like she's not really calming down.
Not soothing.
She says, she says, listen, I'm having trouble being here because I truly cannot be in a room with Cameron. I am just struggling with it. And I get that you want me to calm down right now, but I'm telling you guys this because I need to get it out, because I don't want to bring it back to the other people that I can't trust. And they get that. Hisam briefly goes to the bathroom, and Izzy complains some more about Red and Cameron's behavior during the competition explanation. There was, I think, even more stuff that happened outside that it's hard to know exactly what happened, but she's like, not everything is a joke, and you're not that funny. And Mimi's like, believe me, I get it. I was in the same place as you yesterday. I think Mimi understands a little better that Izzy is just trying to vent, but Hisam is trying to be like, please don't bring this to anywhere else. And so this is all happening in the bathroom, but back in the comic room, Red is like, what the hell? Why is she so upset at me? I just don't understand. And then she came down to talk to you guys about it instead of talking to me about it. Like, why can't she just talk to me about it? I would love to just be able to talk to her and talk it through. And both Bowie and Ceri agree that he should try to talk to her tonight, sort it out straight away. And Red, I think Red actually, is very good in this whole situation.
Oh yeah.
Very thoughtful. And even in this moment, he's like, please guys tell me, is there something that I did wrong or something that I could have done better in this spot? Please let me know. I'm not just trying to defend my own position right now. And they're like, don't really think so. You just need to talk to her probably. He wonders if they should be part of the conversation because he doesn't want to feel like he's trying to intimidate her or anything. They say, no, it's probably worse if we're there too. She'd probably prefer a private conversation. So he goes and grabs Izzy to talk. She says, first of all, let me apologize. And he says, I kind of felt singled out in that moment, because there were a lot of people on the bed, and it felt like you're coming at me for it, and I think I got a little defensive in that moment. She says, "I'm sorry, I did not mean to. I have an issue with Cameron." And he says, "Oh, okay. So it was more toward Cameron?" She's like, "Yeah, I guess so." And he says, "Well, I want to apologize for how I responded. I try very hard to avoid being like toxically masculine. And I think, if it feels like somebody's coming at me, I have this instinct to kind of like puff out my chest and get a little defensive. So if it came off in that way, I really apologize." It's a good start to the conversation. They talk a little more about Cameron. She says, "Look, I'm happy to work with Cameron if I need to. It doesn't matter how much I like him." And Red says, "Listen, the only reason I brought Cameron in or worked on bringing Cameron in is because the only one I had a relationship with." And she says, "As I'm talking this out, I am hearing how irrational it is. So listen, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter." He says, "No, it does matter. I want to hear how you feel so that I can like learn and adjust. Anytime you feel any kind of way, I want you to be able to come and talk to me about it. We can have a conversation like this, talk it out, and I want to respect any kind of boundaries you have. And I really appreciate you as a person, and I really think you're a cool person, and so on and so forth." And she says she really appreciates that. It's honestly, it's just Cameron. He really loves the sound of his own voice, and I don't like the sound of his voice.
This is how you're supposed to play the game that Red is playing. Like if you're in the middle ish and you don't even have a lot of connections ish, it was very clear from the jump to me that Red basically wanted to learn what had gone wrong and completely rectify it. And if it was something that genuinely he's at fault for, improve on it. And I absolutely love this. This is how one should conduct themselves inside and outside the house, outside of a game anyway. Now, the fact that Izzy, within 10 seconds of him sitting there, was like, it was more of a Cameron thing. It's like, yep, this is classic Izzy. Despite not having feeds for 48 hours, I have not forgotten how it feels like to watch Izzy on the feeds. So this Izzy being annoyed with Cameron thing, Taran, it's been night one. We've had maybe 4 hours of content into this HOH reign, and it's night one of that. So I expect with the HOH room at her disposal, I expect this Izzy v Cameron thing to get even bigger. Now the big question is going to be is, will the two of them have a one-on-one confrontation at some point? Because I could see it happening this week.
Yeah. I mean, this was very like even just beyond game. I think like Red seems very well versed in like conflict management and
Absolutely.
very willing to immediately be like, okay, what am I doing? What can I do to improve? What are the things that I can own up to in this conversation to help disarm the situation? Because being defensive doesn't help anybody. And Izzy also, despite being in a very heightened emotional state, was very willing to like, come back down and accept that vulnerability from Red. So it was a very interesting conversation. I also just, we love Izzy. She's giving us a lot. And I also love the screenshots of Izzy like ah.
Yeah.
But I just kind of want to point out that like I get it. Like having to live in a house with a bunch of other people to begin with can be frustrating, but especially like being forced into situations with somebody like Cameron, I think in particular can be very triggering for people.
Oh yeah.
If that's like if especially if you've dealt with something, not to say that she has, but like just in general, I mean, it's like just watching Cameron on the screen sometimes is like, oh my God. And so like for as like as much as we enjoy the drama, I just want to make sure that we are like understanding that Izzy is coming from, I think, a fairly reasonable place in all of it.
We've been watching him from the comfort of our homes on screen, and some of us have been like, I need a shower after that was kind of grimy. I don't like that. She is in a room with him in the same house. I mean, she didn't have good vibes from him from the beginning of the season, right? Where she was the one who mentioned these serial killer vibes, but she's not watched it play out. She's watched the way he's conversing with people, and they don't gel. And we can all agree that Cameron, no. So Yeah, I fully co-sign that, Taran. I feel like it's a combination of that and also, Izzy's gonna Izzy. So, yeah.
Yeah. So listen, we're gonna continue to have fun with Izzy over the course of the season, I
Make
am
no
sure.
mistake.
But I never wanted to be like we're just completely dunking on her. I think we're enjoying the drama of the situation and how intense that she can be, especially when it comes to game. Um, so Felicia's going to talk with Suri and Bowie and lets them know that Heisem talked about wanting to target Riley and then Cameron next, and then Matt after that. Those were the top three. She says, for some reason, he doesn't trust Matt, which they don't really understand. And again, I feel like my theory is probably why, and also probably why it doesn't make sense to them. She said they talk about how maybe one of the reasons is that apparently Riley said that Matt would do whatever she told him to do, and Bowie's like, that's old news. Like we all know that's not true, and they don't think that Matt is a threat. Felicia says, I think we should get rid of Riley first and then Cameron. So that's where Felicia is currently standing in all of this, but we know that Suri is on a slightly different page.
Yeah, which is why, again, I would back a Suri to subtly move the target over. I do think ultimately Cameron's probably the best option either way you look at it. But I can also see why Riley is on the tip of a lot of tongues as well. I mean, if I'm Felicia, Riley literally had me up on the block and would have no problem putting me up again, probably, right? So I don't like that either. And Cameron has been putting this facade of like trying to like come over and get involved. So that I could also see. But I feel like the truth's going to come out and they're going to get to a better consensus. I also do think, Taran, the Matt theory you have is 100% what it is. I think Matt's just kind of like the last one remaining of the five that could go up in that situation, given the connection with Blue and with Jag. So
yeah, and at this time, it doesn't seem super likely that Matt is in any danger of going
no.
home. The target would likely land on Riley or Cameron if either of them were on the block against him. But you never know. It's a long week, and if he's up on the block, things could change. And being an option for the block is never a good thing. But for right now, it does seem like it's pretty likely that it's either Cameron or Riley leaving
Yeah.
this week. Um, Jag, Matt, Riley, Cameron, and Blue, the handful, they are all in the scary room together and happily reunited in their room, but not happily discussing how screwed they are this week. And they talk through some options for a little while. They see that there's 7 on the other side. They correctly name all 7 people in the professors. And they're concerned. Riley mentions like, well, hopefully, Suri and Felicia will advocate for some of us that they're close to. And Cameron says he really just wants to make sure that Corey is the target this week because Heisem hates Corey. We can make sure that Corey is the target. That would be ideal. And hey, if we can't get Felicia on the block next to Corey, maybe we could throw the other person outside of outside of the core alliance, America could be the block on the block with Corey. And then we would be able to avoid being on the block. But really, it's a problem for you guys because I'm already safe.
And that's the thing when Heisem said that he wanted to get some of them to turn on each other. I feel like this is the perfect way to go because Cameron wants the conversation to be Corey and America, 2 people who are already on the outside of the handful and who, they would need more than anything. Do that. And also the hubris that he is safe is incredible. And yeah, you're basically going to confirm to Heisem that the 5 of us really want to work together and really see the others as disposable. So do what you got to do. And then you're going to end up on the block.
Cameron is also like explaining to them who Heisem is. He's like, getting to know Heisem over the last few days. I know that he is an honorable man and that he will he will nominate honorably. He won't mess around with any backdoors. Just explaining like as if he knows exactly what Heisem is going to do, but still has no idea that he's like the number 2 target in Heisem's eyes. Just it's giving pooch. All right, it's giving.
Yes,
pooch.
it is. Yes, it is. The hubris from week one, we've sorted everything out. We're safe. And he's been setting himself up to be Pooch 2.0. And this is the week it gets manifested and done. Taryn, this is
And
the week.
what they even said was, briefly in the storage room, they were like, you could tell Cameron he's a pawn. Uh, so if they do that and he believes them, it's really giving Pooch. So that's most of the night. Suri is going to talk to Izzy after her conversation. Red does come down and let them know that things went well. Worth noting as well in that conversation with Felicia, Suri, and Bowie, they did mention Corey. So apparently, the other side, quote unquote, told Corey to move his bed into the comic room to infiltrate. But Corey refused and took a bed in the like outside, right outside the door of the comic room.
Yeah.
And so despite that, they are still kind of like Felicia and Felicia was like, hey, watch out because he can hear if we're not careful and he will listen. And they think that they can trust him for now, but that he will flip depending on like what side is in power, which is, I believe, fully true. So they are still watching Corey. They're not oblivious to what he's doing, which is, I think, in part due to the fact that he tells them what he's doing. He talks a bit too much. He's constantly telling people. So I think I'm in the middle. I think I'm good on both sides. But listen, it's working for now.
It's working for now, and I do think eventually when he starts hearing that, you know, the other side is throwing his name out as a potential one of two options to go on the block, maybe he realizes or he switches or he starts moving closer to one side over the other. But for now, the kid's too transparent for his own good. But hey, Heisem's not putting him up, and Heisem might have been the person he should have been most scared of winning HOH. So he's fine. He's living.
So Suri is going to talk to Izzy. Izzy's going to vent some more to Suri about Cameron and everything. Suri like takes her hand and comforts her. And Suri lets her know that Heisem is looking at Riley and Cameron. But hey, Cameron leaves, Red's going to settle right down. That's all I'm going to say about that.
Yeah, that's not a bad argument. That they could, you know, it's not even about recruiting the other one that doesn't go. It's about the fact that where's Red going to go after that? Like him and Cameron have a bit of a connection. That's gone. That's good. Again, this is great campaigning before the noms have even happened.
Yeah, I think there's probably going to be a few different arguments, but one of the main ones might be, hey, if we take out Cameron this week, we ensure Red's loyalty
Exactly.
for good. We cut off Red's options to move outside of us. We lock him in the group with us, whereas Riley is already on the other side. She's not connected to anyone. You know, cutting Cameron off means that you cut Riley off, and you cut Red off, and you know, there's a lot of like good, seemingly logical reasons to take the shot at Cameron there that Suri, I think, could come up with. She's been playing fairly subtly so far when it comes to these conversations. She's focusing mostly on the people that she knows, like she can trust with like the outward information about wanting to target Cameron, and being more subtle with people that she doesn't want to know that she's like pushing too hard so far. We do know that that Heisem made a point of saying, I want to make this decision as a group. And I want this to like solidify the professors. So as long as Suri is able to like quietly gather numbers of people who are willing to agree with her, I think that she could, you know, then make this happen in a group setting. So like, for instance, if Mimi and Izzy and then herself as well are all kind of like pushing the Cameron angle, she could, I mean, if she could just, you know, flip Felicia, then she's in a really good position to then be like, if Red is the only person really stumping for Corey or for Cameron, it's not going to happen, right? That's when they're going to be like, listen, Red, you know, we gotta, just because you like him doesn't mean, and I think he'll back down immediately. I don't think he feels like he has the standing to stick up for Cameron. So I think it definitely could happen, I think. But you then have to consider that like the actions of the other side will also make an impact. if they do start scrambling and ratting each other out, what kind of impact will that happen? Or what kind of impact will that have? If Riley starts, saying things, that could change things. If Cameron starts saying things, that could change things. So there's a lot going on. And also, like, yeah, if the other side is more protective of Riley than Cameron, then they might feel like, okay, Riley is more entrenched, and it might
Right.
disarm the Cameron situation a little more. So all of those talks, I imagine, will start happening today, and I imagine they'll continue to happen over the course of the week. I'm going to say it now. This feels like it should be a slightly quieter week than last week. However, it has the potential to be even more chaotic, because if they play things right, they could completely just shatter the other side, with infighting and finger pointing. And if they do shatter the other side, then they're all going to come running to the Cerise side. They're going to come running to the professors, and they're going to be trying to make all kinds of different subgroups. So there's a lot of potential for chaos this week. And then there's also some potential for, well, it's fairly straightforward. We're just taking a shot at that other side, and we're going to lock it into one of those two people. So definitely some intrigue either way.
Yeah, I'm here for it. I think it's going to be an entertaining week, no matter how we look at it. And I'm very curious because it really does feel like we've got a lot weird live feed update today where we're kind of in a Thursday A live feed update. You're going to get the Thursday B live feed update tomorrow because all of the HOH conversations are going to be today, then the nomination. So I'm very excited to see where it goes, especially because everyone keeps trying to plan these, like, okay, this is what we're gonna say, this is how we're gonna do it. And realistically, when everyone knows everything, it's just common knowledge. So it's not really that big. But I think there's gonna be a lot of fun along the way. I think it's gonna be a fun week. I think it's gonna be a fun week. Now, I am curious because Jared has been not here. Also, this is and I'm sure I haven't listened to the recap from last night, Timber. I'm sure y'all took him to task for the bad episodes we've been getting.
Mm-hmm.
Who
That has
gives
to stop.
Yes, who gives a damn about the nether region if we are never gonna see it and we just don't know what it even looks like or what it is? It's basically you're pulling them away for the night, right? Like there's nothing else that's coming out of this. Um
I just can't. I'm sorry, but I just can't believe that the Marvel Cinematic Universe has been a thing for like over a decade at this point, close to, right?
way over. Yeah.
Yeah,
Way
like
past. Yeah.
over a decade, but it's been dominating the box office for years. It's been massive in pop culture. And the last few years, it sucked. It's been failing in the box office. Nobody likes it anymore. The TV shows suck. All this multiverse stuff has been awful. The writing is terrible. The writer's strike is not even going to matter for them because they're probably messing up the writing all over the place. It's just bad. And this is when they wanted to jump in. They're like, oh, I know it's been the staple of pop culture for the last decade, but now that it's dying, let's jump in and copy the multiverse, the thing that is failing.
It's vintage Big Brother. Oh, this is over now. Okay, now it's time for us to do it. And the edit, the way the episode ended with that, I would say Portal 2 puts it to shame. Like that Portal 2 at least like is an older video game, still has a better portal than what looked like Microsoft clip art slapped on the screen. This is bad. Y'all were never gonna give like good editing to this, like it was just and Taran, they really keep wanting to show us that, like, hey, look at the laser, the time laser, the wavy things we did, and the flying hot dog, and they're not that good. We are at an age now where people are doing better edits on their TikTok accounts. You cannot be putting this proudly on your screen. Stop it. stop this. And yeah, I can't wait for Jared to be swiveled in with the bed in the scary verse room, to be brought back from another region and be like, oh, it was rough out there. No, you had a bed and you were chilling. Like if they don't show it to us, I don't think it was terrible, because Taran, if they've got goo, slime, whatever, they will show us. So I just feel like they're copping out, and he's got like a cheeky little hotel bed somewhere that he's sleeping on.
Yeah. I want to be clear that individually there have been some gems in the Marvel universe. Obviously, Spider-Verse is great, and there are some good ones here and there, but overall, it's been terrible. All right. So I don't get why this is when they decided to jump in. But that's about what we've got, I think, for today. We will see how the rest of the week plays out, of course. But it's not looking great. Who knows what this twist is going to do? Again, there's not much we can do to speculate on that, but not looking great for Cameron or Riley. That's about it.
That's all we've got. Yeah. More stuff to be seen today. I am excited. I think we'll have a fun reign on our hands. I really do, or at least I'm very hopeful. And more things to dunk on the show. Listen, the feeds have been 10 out of 10, which is funny considering that the episodes are some of the weirdest and worst ones we've seen in a minute. So there's both praise opportunity and dunk opportunity, and a happy me in the middle of that Venn diagram doing a little bit of both. So
yeah. All right. Well, you can, of course, tune in tomorrow morning at 11 a.m. Eastern, where I will update you on everything that happens today, including, I would imagine, the nominations. Maybe we get some more information on the twist and Jared and all of that. So tune in tomorrow. Probably lots to update you there for tomorrow. I will also be live doing the Q&A later today. I believe what we are doing here is the Q&A. It's a patron show, where if you are a patron, you can call in or leave a voicemail. However, I believe what we are doing now is we are going to stream it live on YouTube for anyone to watch. But if you're not there live, you don't have access to the archive unless you're a patron. So you can still watch it if you're not a patron. If you are there live, should be 2 p.m. Eastern, I believe, today. Let me just quickly double check that because it actually matters now. 2 p.m. Eastern for the Q&A. That's where, again, we'll take calls. We'll have some voicemails. It's a fun podcast because we can really go in depth about very specific things. And it's a space where we have time to talk about stuff that we normally wouldn't when we're recapping or updating or stuff like that. So check it out if you want to, or become a patron and have full access to those podcasts every week on Friday. And then again, tomorrow, live feed update. Find me over on Twitch, twitch.tv/Taran Armstrong, watching episodes live with all of you, hanging out, playing some games, doing some fun stuff over there. Pooya, what do you got going on?
Well, people can find me on Twitter at Pooyism. I'm usually live on Twitch Friday nights at 10 p.m. and not this week, though. I am, as you can tell, not in my regular spot. So I'm going to be not there, but you can always go to twitch.tv/Pooya. That's where you can find me when I'm not podcasting. We will be doing a Goose Goose Duck on Sunday at 2 p.m. That's still happening. So we got one stream this week coming up. And aside from that, Taran, I've been busy with 90 Day Fiancé and with the Traders. Traders New Zealand has kicked off, and myself and Shannon Gus got together to talk about the first 2 episodes. I'm very intrigued. I feel like they're changing some things. They've added some new things to the sauce that maybe there weren't on the other franchises. So I'm happy about that. We'll see where that takes us. And then next week, Traders Australia is going to be kicking off, and I'll be there with Peridium to talk about everything going on over there. And no exit interviews, by the way, this week. They're pushing them all the next week. So if you were trying to figure out or hear from Kirsten, you're not gonna. So there you go.
Yeah. And of course, if you hadn't subscribed to the podcast feed for these updates, you can go to Rob's website, site.com/bigbrother. If you are not able to catch these podcasts live, or you want to be able to listen on a commute or something like that, this is available in podcast form as well. And it's available on YouTube if you want to watch it and see the graphics and all that stuff. So either way, you have your choice of content delivery service. But That is what we have for you here today. Thank you all so much for joining us, and I will see all of you next time.